You are the only kind of human alive. That is the strange part. 50,000 years ago, there were at least five. Not five races, five different kinds of human walking around the same planet at the same time. One of them stood 3.5 feet tall. One of them we discovered without a skeleton, from the DNA in a single finger bone. Then one by one, they were all gone. Only your kind was left, and nobody knows why. Everyone already has an answer, of course. We won. We were smarter. We had better tools, better language, and the rest of them simply couldn't keep up. That story is not the scientific consensus. It is one hypothesis among several. And the mathematical models that best reproduce what actually happened don't need it at all. Here is what is not in dispute. They didn't just die out. Some of them are still here, inside you. If your ancestry is European or Asian, about 2% of your genome is Neanderthal. If your ancestry is African, it's roughly a third of that. Smaller, but not zero. So this isn't a story about a species that lost. It's a story about four kinds of human who vanished, and a fifth one carrying pieces of them around ever since. Let's take a snapshot. 50,000 years ago, five kinds of human are alive. There is us, Homo sapiens, already about 250,000 years old. There are the Neanderthals across Europe and Western Asia. There are the Denisovans spread somewhere across Asia. On the Indonesian island of Flores, there is Homo floresiensis, the hobbits. And on Luzon, in the Philippines, there is Homo luzonensis, dated to between 67 and 50,000 years ago. 5. And 5 is a floor, not a census. The Denisovans alone may be several kinds of human counted as one. The two lineages hiding in Papuan genomes split from each other more than 300,000 years ago. Now rewind 60,000 years, and the lineup changes. Luzonensis isn't there yet. Homo erectus still is, hanging on in Java. Same number of humans on Earth, different humans. Start with the strangest one. In 2004, excavators on Flores announced a skeleton about a meter tall with a brain roughly a third the size of ours. The press called it the Hobbit, and the first dates were extraordinary. They put these 3.5-foot humans on Flores as recently as 12,000 years ago, comfortably into the age of agriculture, practically neighbors. Then in 2016, a team led by Thomas Sutikna published a correction. They had re-excavated the cave and found the sediment layers weren't laid down evenly at all. The young dates came from a young deposit sitting in a hollow cut into much older ground. The Hobbits' real disappearance moved back to around 50,000 years ago. Sutikna's team took their own headline finding and made it less exciting. That is what the process is supposed to look like. We even know roughly what finished them. Rainfall on Flores collapsed, the dwarf elephants they hunted dwindled with it, and a volcano buried part of the island. Their last hard evidence is stone tools. The bones stop earlier. Now the one we found backwards. In 2008, in a cave in southern Siberia, someone recovered a fragment of a child's finger bone. It was not much to look at. There was no skull, no skeleton, nothing anatomy could work with. So Svante Pabo's lab sequenced it, and the genome that came back belonged to a kind of human nobody had ever described. No name, no fossil record, no skeleton. Discovered entirely from the inside out. We call them Denisovans, after the cave. Pabo won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2022 for this whole line of work. His lab sequenced the Neanderthal genome in 2010. Before that, the deep human past was bones and stone tools and inference. He turned it into a readable text, which matters here because almost everything else in this video comes out of that toolkit. So, were they the dim ones? The brutes who lost? Go 336 meters into Bruniquel Cave in southwest France in total darkness. There you'll find two rings built out of more than 400 snapped-off stalagmites with traces of fire on them. They are 176,500 years old, give or take about 2,000. Neanderthal work, and more than 130,000 years before modern humans reached Europe. At Abri du Maras, a 6mm scrap of conifer bark fibers survived on a stone tool. Under the microscope, fibers twisted into yarn, Then 3 yarns twisted the opposite way into cord. 3-ply string, at least 41,000 years old. The previous oldest cord was 19,000. The researchers' own conclusion was that treating Neanderthals as cognitively inferior is becoming increasingly untenable. And their brains were not smaller than ours. In raw volume, they averaged slightly larger, which proves capability, not superiority. Nobody is claiming they were smarter. Only that dumb was never on the table. There is also a contested one, and it belongs in here with its dispute attached. In 2018, a team dated pigment on cave walls in Spain to more than 64,000 years ago, which would make Neanderthals Europe's first cave painters, 20,000 years before we arrived. A formal rebuttal followed, arguing the geochemistry actually points to around 47,000 years. It is argued and it is disputed, and you should know both halves. What isn't disputed is what happened when we met. In 2024, working from 300 human genomes, living people and ancient ones together, Leonardo Iasi's team pinned the Neanderthal gene flow down to a single event about 47,000 years ago, running for 7,000 years. One shared window. In Europe, the two kinds of human overlap for somewhere between 2,500 and 5,500 years. And in that window, they had children together. Here's the part that should bother you. The original Neanderthal contribution to our genome was much larger than the 2% left today, probably above 5%. Most of it was weeded out afterwards by selection, fast, within about 100 generations, and the Denisovans are still in people too. Populations in Melanesia and New Guinea carry the most of any living group, several percent, though published estimates run anywhere from about 1% to 7%, so anyone quoting you one exact number is overselling it. So why is only one kind of human left? In 2019, Chris Vason's team ran the numbers on Neanderthal populations that were simply small. Inbreeding, the difficulty of finding a mate at low density, ordinary bad luck in births and deaths. That alone was enough to end them. No climate disaster, no competition, no smarter rival required. And a 2025 modeling study got to the same place from the other direction. Small numbers of us moving into their populations repeatedly for 10 to 30,000 years produces almost complete genetic replacement through pure drift. No advantage, no conquest, just arithmetic, which means the most popular explanation for our survival, that we were better, is not the finding. It's the assumption we brought with us. Look at the whole span instead. For hundreds of thousands of years, the normal condition of this planet was several kinds of human at once, meeting at the edges, trading genes, sometimes ignoring each other. That ended about 40,000 years ago, which makes every human being who has ever felt lonely as a species roughly right. So, 5 kinds of human, 50,000 years ago. A 3.5-foot people on an Indonesian island, whose disappearance we had to move back 40,000 years because the dirt was lying to us. A whole kind of human rayed out of one finger bone. Rings of stalagmites, a third of a kilometer underground, 130,000 years before we showed up. 3-ply string, a single gene flow event, 47,000 years ago. Children, and then 4 of the 5 gone, for reasons that look less like defeat than like small numbers and bad luck. You are the only kind of human alive. It is not an achievement. It is a very recent, very unusual arrangement. And up to 2% of the alternative is still in your cells. Got a question rattling around your head? Drop it in the comments. Egghead might crack it next. And if you enjoyed this, you know what that button's for.